Battle of Red Cliffs, Zhou Yu's capacity. The Battle of Red Cliffs was considered a turning point of the period. Sao Sao had amassed a 1,000,000-man army and was poised to unify the realm with his final acquisition of the Southland. All that stood in his way was a paltry coalition army by Sun and Liu, numbering only 50,000. Liu Bei would send his chief strategist Ming south to persuade Sun Quan to defend against this bid for hegemony. He addresses 2 points to justify defense in spite of these overwhelming odds. The first being that the northern armies are far from home and their soldiers exhausted. He continues that these invading armies are also unaccustomed to naval combat and the locals are unwilling to assist them. What the novel had just done was list 2 points which correspond to the art of war. The first, the Sun's eye would put it close the field of battle, await an enemy coming from afar. Your troops at rest, less than exhausted enemy with well-fed troops, hungry ones. This describes the innate advantage of being on the defensive. The second point would be those who do not use local guides or unable to obtain the advantage of the ground. The ground in this instance being the Yangtze River. Zhou Yu, the Southland's military general and strategist, would also make an appeal to Sun Quan, addressing an additional 4 points in favor of defense. He first points out that Ma Teng and Han Sui threaten his rear. The second akin to Ming's assessment that Sao Sao was relinquishing his well-tried cavalry and trusting the ships. Thirdly, that they were now in full winter and the weather is at its coldest, so there is no food for the horses. And finally, that soldiers that get launching in a wet country will find themselves in an unaccustomed climate and suffer from malaria. The art of war corresponds to his first point by stating that neighboring rulers will take advantage of your distress to act. Distress in this case being that the mass of his military might would be on the southern rather than the northern front. Sun's eye is somewhat vague with regards to this third point, stating that one must assess the effects of winter's cold and summer's heat and the conduct of military operations in accordance with the seasons. Sao Sao's own annotations of this text mention how the rules of the ancient military state that operations should not be carried out in winter or summer. However, Zhou Yu would merely remark that winter will dampen Cao's cavalry advantage. The novel greatly expands upon this use of nature, though, with strategies that employ the use of rain, wind, and their byproducts as tools of war. Instances such as the flooding of Xaipi, Sao Sao's erection of a mud wall against Ma Chao, and Ding Feng's crossing the Delaware, where he would use the harshness of winter as a cloak for his attack on Huzun, are just a few among a litany of examples. Zhou Yu's last point is again addressed by Sun Quan, who states that while nourishing its health, the army occupies a firm position. An army that does not suffer from countless diseases is said to be certain of victory. Therefore, as Cao's army is harboring disease, its victory is not certain. We see that even before hostilities break out, in the mere assessment of the enemy's capacity, several aspects of the art of war showed a favorable position for the South. However, as the above discussions relied mostly upon speculation, Zhou Yu will now seek to mitigate this information asymmetry. In the film The Fog of War, 2003, Rob McNamara listed several lessons he learned from the Vietnam War. One being to empathize with your enemy. Sadly, he was probably unfamiliar with Sun Tzu's work, which states that if you know the enemy and know yourself in 100 battles, you will never be in peril.